Super excited for you guys to hear today's interview with my good friend Brynne Tillman. So Brynne is also a lover of LinkedIn, does a lot of B2B, a lot of sales coaching. She's actually someone that I was following and looking up to in the very beginning. We have a lot of mutual friends, and we actually connected on LinkedIn, and we did some interviews that we put out on LinkedIn. And I said, I would love to have you on my podcast because I know you guys hear from me how much I love LinkedIn, but it's always great to hear it from someone else, much like Brynne, who is just an amazing human being, has an incredible business, and is really going to give you guys some tangible tips and takeaways of what you can really do to even up level even more on the things that I've been teaching you. And as always, don't forget, head over to Facebook to my free accountability Facebook group, the Network Marketing Leads for Life group. The description and the link to that group is in, obviously, the episode notes, and would love to see you in there. So guys, please enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy this incredible interview with Brynne Tillman. Welcome to the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Scott Aaron, and each and every week, I'm going to come to you with short, simple, and powerful tactics of how you can grow your network marketing business, brand, bank account, and impact on those around you. And just remember, network marketing is not easy, but it can be made easy with simple steps to create the success that you truly deserve. So Brynne, welcome to today's episode, and I am so stoked for the interview today. And I know everyone that's listening to this from wherever you are around the world, or whatever platform you're choosing to tune in from, you're going to get so much value from this because through 6 degrees of separation, a mutual friend of mine and Brynne's, Lynn Williams. So Lynn, if you're listening, thank you for making the connection. I heard of Brynne first. I was giving a LinkedIn training at an event that Lynn was there, and she hosted me. And she had mentioned that she had done some trainings with Brynne, and I definitely started looking at what she was doing on LinkedIn, and very genuine, very authentic, and she practices what she preaches. And she works with a lot of B2B, but also entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, take a lot of value and get a lot of amazing resources from what her and her company does. So number one, Brynne, welcome. So grateful to have you here. So welcome to the episode. And number two, for my audience that is not familiar or does not know about you and what your company does, just do a little short introduction and let people know how you help others in the B2B, but also entrepreneurial space.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm grateful to Lynn Williams as well. So I help people that are responsible for business development, mostly in the B2B space, leverage LinkedIn to start more sales conversations. And we do that through authentic engagement, through content that attracts, teaches, and engages your targeted buyers and referral partners. And we leverage those relationships to both give and get referrals. That's really at the foundation what we do. And I think the key is I come from a sales training background, not a social media background. So we really leverage this tool from a sales training perspective and come at it in a way that's very different than like the traditional social media marketing side. So we're relationship driven because that's what sales is, right? And where marketing is more transactional. And so we've really embedded that, build and grow and deepen relationships that lead to sales when the time is right.
No, I love that because you and I were talking in the pre-show that we see so eye to eye on so many different things, just being genuine and being authentic, practicing what we preach, and as you say, practice what we teach. And we do have a lot of things in common. We're both from the Philadelphia area, and we both fell in love with LinkedIn. And obviously, you got a head start. You've been on LinkedIn since 2010.
Longer than that, I think, but I think so. 08, I think.
So, you've seen the changes that LinkedIn, the makeovers that's gone on. I started my account I think back in '09, but really didn't fully jump into it until about 2014. And even in the last 6 years, it's dramatically changed. I mean, people still today, when when I have conversations, they're like, "Oh, I thought that's where you get a job and that's where recruiters are." But at one time, there was like that's exactly what it was for, and it's still used in certain demographics on LinkedIn. You can find a job, and recruiters are definitely on there. That's why they created Navigator and Recruiter and all those things. But from what drew you first to LinkedIn? Because again, you have a sales background, as do I. And for me, I was brought up in the generation of Facebook and then Instagram, and LinkedIn was a complete afterthought. So just rewinding the tape back to 2008, when you had all these sales training backgrounds, what was the initial thing that really drew you to LinkedIn that had you fall in love with it still 12 years to this day, moving forward?
Yeah, there was really one aha moment that was transformative. And I'll back up for a minute to LinkedIn, because it leads me to why it was so transformative. I loved being in sales. I loved relationships. I loved meeting people. I loved helping people solve problems. It was fabulous. What I didn't love about sales was the cold call. My best business came from referrals from my happy clients. So when I found LinkedIn, it was like the angels came down singing, because it answered my number one challenge, which was, how do I get more referrals from my clients proactively instead of reacting to them? My experience with my clients would be, hey, Mr. Client, who do you know that could help, that I could help the same way I've been able to help you? And they go, I don't know. But if someone should ask, I'll refer, right? LinkedIn, very quickly, I recognize that you can search your connections. You have the ability to see who in your network knows your targeted buyers or referral partners or whomever you're looking, or the people you're looking to connect with. So overnight, it was transformative, because now I would connect with a buyer, I'd search their connections, I would connect with a client, an existing client or a referral partner, see who they knew, and have a conversation with a list of people and say, or you're connected to these 14 people that I'd love to get in front of. Can we talk through these? And so really we focused on, and then I do the same. I'd open up my connections, feel free to look through my list. And all of a sudden, I recognized the incredible power of this tool, because I would take this list of 14 people in my client, and at the end of our conversation, there were 3 people I was getting introduced to. So I never had a cold call after that, I really ever. And for me, that made sales a perfect job for me.
Well, to me, I think cold calling is dead. And listen, no one has to agree with me, but I think everyone can agree with me that cold calling never feels good. Never feels good. It's there's, and this is what I learned early on with LinkedIn as well, because I was being taught by certain coaches to do more quote unquote attraction marketing, post certain things on Facebook and Instagram, and wait for your inbox to go off. And I'm like, all right, this just doesn't feel good, because I'm like posting and praying, I'm scrolling and trolling, I'm just sitting and waiting for the skies to open up. So the backstory was, I was at a personal development event, and the person that was hosting the event, brought all these top business owners on stage, and they were like, how many conversations did it take you to have to get to where you are? And they were like, 5,000, 7,000, 10,000. I'm like, well, if I'm using Facebook, which only allows me 5,000 friends, I have no shot, because, as you and I both know, LinkedIn allows you 30,000 organic connections and then the follow feature, which it's available the whole time, but you could literally have 30,000 warm connections. And I got on there like you, and I started really searching and connecting from my avatar. Who could I Who could I have as a cold connection, a warm conversation with?
Mm-hmm.
So at the time for me, it was trainers, it was nutritionists, it was gym owners, because that was my background. And then basically the floodgates started to open up. So my question to you, Brynne, knowing what you know now and knowing what I know now, why are so many people still so resistant to getting onto LinkedIn to really leverage it for their business? And they're so quick to doing a funnel or a Facebook ad or this, that, or the other. Why are they so opposed to just organically going on LinkedIn and having conversations?
So I think there are a few things. The first one is it is not the most, it does not have the best UX. The user experience when you go on is confusing. It's 3 layers deep to get to anything meaningful. And they do a not so great job at guiding you through the platform. So I think that's number one. Number two, they don't understand the power that it holds. So they think it's about just sharing content. They don't realize all the other opportunities inside of the platform. And number three, I think the biggest challenge, and let's even say from switching from cold calling to social selling, is that although it lengthens the initial process of one-to-one, they don't recognize that it's shortened. So the outreach process may be a little longer on a one-to-one, but the outcome process, the outcome from it is much faster. So because there's more work up front that's not automated, right? They think, okay, well, it's much faster for me to do this through automation. It's much quicker to, but the outcome, as you mentioned, might be 30,000 touches for one success on an automated, and that a social media campaign could look like that. But they feel like it's a set it and forget it, so it's easy. But it takes so long to get the right outcome that sure that it's easy to run, but it's not converting. So I'm trying to articulate, and I feel like I hear a post coming, a blog, a content coming from that. But it really is about doing more to build the initial connection and relationship, which will convert much faster.
It's relationship building, and I think that's, so for me, I am always willing to be in the trenches as long as it takes to get the desired outcome, because we both know, I mean, I think between the two of us, we have close to 45 years of sales under our belts. I've been in sales for almost 23 years now, and I know that it's built on the backs of creating that connection, that rapport, and that trust with that person. So when you get really good at connecting with people, you don't have to sell, because you're being an active listener. You're hearing the person's pain points. And for those people that are listening to this that are still not on LinkedIn, because maybe a mentor that you have or a coach that you have isn't leveraging it, doesn't mean that you can't. If you wait for someone to give you permission, saying, you know what, Brynne, yes, I now give you permission to start using LinkedIn to build your business. I mean, you're going to be behind. Gary Vaynerchuk, who's very open about how much he loves LinkedIn, and people agree with his practices, but there was something that he said, your net worth is always in direct correlation to your network, and you really have to do the job required to leverage and build that network. But the other thing is, towards the end of 2019, he said, if you don't have a marketing plan for leveraging LinkedIn in a very genuine and authentic way, you're going to be behind. And I completely agreed with him, but I was on there 5 or 6 years before doing that. But it's still not too late to get onto LinkedIn, because so I want you to clarify that, because people think, oh, it's too late to get on there.
Oh, no.
So What would your best advice be for that person that's, in between their ears that's saying, oh, it's too late. It's, people are already doing, there's no way I can build something on there. What's your message to that person?
So I want to go back to Gary Vee for a minute, who I think is brilliant on a lot of levels. He misses the LinkedIn piece though. He puts out a post, share 64 pieces of content a day. You can do that on Instagram. You could do that if you want in your Facebook groups. Even one piece a day is a lot on LinkedIn. You can engage and you're showing up and people will see you and that's fine. But LinkedIn is a different platform. People will be annoyed if every time they come on, all they see is you. That is not going to help you. And the quality of your content cannot be good if you're sharing 64 people. I mean, that you would be even if you're a full-time content producer, you couldn't get more than 2 out a day that was any good, if that was your full-time job. So I want to be careful, and content really matters to nurture the people that you've already started conversations with. It will attract people that will want to start a conversation with you. But the level of your content when you do put it out has to be compelling, has to attract the right buyers, and it has to give them so much value that they can't wait to talk to you. And you can't do that in volume. So I just want to kind of table that for a moment. The piece of what Gary said that is brilliant is that, which is kind of an old saying that's been modernized, which is your network is your net worth, right? Who you are connected with and who you are engaging is the value. But let's step back and look at this from a sales perspective for just a moment. I can have 0 connections on LinkedIn, a terrible profile, and I can connect with one client and mine their connections and identify the 15 or 20 people they know that we want to meet and ask for a referral. Now, if you have a bad profile, do not do any of that work inside of LinkedIn until that's done. You can still bring those names to your client and they could still make an email introduction to you versus doing it through LinkedIn. But the fact that we can search and filter our connections is the game changer for people that are really in a business development role. So it's not too late if you connect with one right client and mine their connections. You do need to have a foundation. Your profile should not be a resume. It should be a resource, because when they show up, people need to engage. They need to know that you're helpful. In fact, we say, stop telling people how you can help them and simply help them. And when you do that, you're more likely to have someone say, I want more of that. I want a phone call.
I love what you just said. Don't make your profile a resume, make it a resource. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I always tell people is people don't care about what you do or how you do it. They care about why you're doing it. Let people know why you help people. What, like the what and the how, it's called the golden circle. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why about being a business leader. And he said that why, the reason why your company, why you do something is one of the biggest attractors to people. But just like you said, if you're going to list things like monster.com on your LinkedIn profile, it's not going to attract people to your profile and why you're doing what you're doing. So it's so essential and it's so key to obviously bring the right people. But I love and this is what I tell people, every connection that you make on LinkedIn is a new network that you can plug into. Mm-hmm. So the analogy that I give people, the example, if you have 1,000 connections that all have 1,000 connections, you are now connected to 1 million people. You mm-hmm. multiply 1,000 by 1,000, and that's how many total people that you are at arm's reach away from. So again, everyone has different best practices on LinkedIn. If you had to give the listeners, I mean, they've heard me now for almost 2 years kind of jamming this down their throats. That's why it's always good to have someone else say it. For you personally, what are your 2 or 3 best practices for someone that is completely amateur as far as getting onto LinkedIn, not knowing what to do, the way that and the time that we spend on there? what are some of the best practices people can start with to understand the power and potential that LinkedIn has for their business?
So before I talk about those things, and I have a list of things, and I'll drill it down to just a few, I really want to talk about the mindset behind it and the philosophy behind it, because the biggest mistakes that people are making, and I get 20 a day, are connect and pitch, right? I connect, and then we help companies like you. We're a WordPress developer that can help you do, but it's constant. So let's talk about worst practices first, and then we'll go to best, right? So connecting and pitching is a disaster. I want, from a philosophy, a philosophical perspective, look at LinkedIn like it's an in-person networking meeting. Would you walk up to someone in a chamber of commerce and just say, hi, Anne, I'm Brynne. I help companies just like you would never do that. Never do that, right? You'd start a conversation. There is a human being on the other side. We never want to start with a pitch. It's awful. So number one. The next thing is, we need to bring so much value that they're begging to talk to us. And there are people that will argue with me, and people that will say that you give away too much content. I've had colleagues of mine that said, please stop giving away so much of your content. Your free stuff is better than our paid stuff. And I thought, this is so interesting, because it's the giving that attracts people, right? It's if I give you enough free stuff that you don't have to hire me, awesome. Most people are not going to go find every free thing, compile it all together, and figure it out on their own. Yeah. Give
to get. It's
well, I don't even want people to give to get.
No. It's what I'm talking about is you want to over deliver. And for someone to say that, oh, you're giving away too much, you're telling people, you're letting out all this. I believe what I do and what I teach is over delivering on everything that you do, because between you and me, there is a lot of crap out there, and it's hard to decipher what's good advice, what's bad. So you know what? Someone like you, someone like me that's gotten success with LinkedIn, it's no harm for us to let people under the kimono of what we're doing and what are best practices. It only adds to our credibility. It only adds to our authoritative figure on the platform. And in the end, it's going to bring people closer to us instead of pushing them further away.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say, the idea to get to give, people smell that. To give to get, I said it backwards. A little dyslexic in the moment. The give to get is, people can smell it a mile away. Larry Levine, Selling from the Heart, has a line that I love, which is called commission breath. He talks about people that have commission breath. I think it's brilliant. There is definitely marketing breath on LinkedIn or whatever. It's, it's very clear when your intent is to sell. We need to stop that. So that's also part of that philosophy. Michael Port, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He runs Heroic Speaking. He and his wife are Amy Port, amazing. Follow. Said probably 10 years ago, maybe even longer, in a book that he wrote called Book Yourself Solid. Give away so much content that you're afraid that, no, I'm quoting it. Give away so much value that you're afraid you gave too much, and then give more. And so he's just push it out, give it out. They will come to you when they need you. If you are just creating curiosity without any value, they're never going to want, the curiosity isn't enough. You've got to create curiosity. You've got to get them thinking differently. And they have to be transforming based on what they find, and what there's got to be a shift for them to raise their hand and say, let's have a conversation. And when you do that well, you will be booked solid, period. End of story. I mean, it just happens. The next thing is you can't be afraid to use this as a networking platform. So build your network, go through your business cards, go through your emails, and connect with everyone that you're having real conversations with, and figure out if there's an opportunity to grow referral partners, to have referral calls. Even nowadays when we're working remotely, significant amount of our time is remote, you get on a Zoom call, you can learn about each other's business, and you can make referrals for one another. And because you can mine each other's Rolodex, that's what each other's LinkedIn connections, you can each bring your list to the meeting and whittle it down to a few meaningful introductions. But you have to embrace this from a real world perspective. Don't run from it because you're like, oh, I'm not a social media person. This is not social media. It's different. It's a different animal. My Facebook is personal. There's no business on my Facebook. I barely use Twitter. I think I have an Instagram account, right? I am not a social media person. It's pretty funny. Like, people will say, oh, you're social. I'm terrible at social media, but I'm phenomenal at LinkedIn for Business. And that it's different than social. It's, it's purposeful.
No, I could not agree more. It's how you show up. But again, I love what you said, what Larry mentioned. You give as much value as you can.
Okay, that's Michael Port.
Michael Port. But
give away so much value.
You're talking, he was the marketing breath. Larry was the marketing
commission breath.
Commission breath. But again, it's so true. Like, give as much as you can, and I do, like, I'm always giving out, part of my system, but, there is no fear attached that, oh, am I giving away all the keys to the castle? Is this gonna end my business? No. I mean, people are attracted to someone that is putting stuff out there that is actually going to shift their business. Part of the reason why I ended up writing a book on what I teach is because I wanted I wanted people to have a handbook of getting started somewhere, because I don't have all the answers. I know the way that I do things may be right, may be wrong, indifferent, whatever it is. But I wanted to be able to at least get people moving that needle forward in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So, and I love what you said about, I get all these connection requests, because people add the notes and stuff, and I have people not only pitching me in the initial reach out where I come back and I'm like, you sent me a connection request. I thought you wanted to see how we can support each other, any introductions, and you just sent me a link to check out some software that you have. That's not a connection I want. But it's gone a step further where people actually are pitching. In the note section, they're sending a connection, they're adding a note, and when they're adding the note, they're putting their sales pitch in the note before the connection is even accepted. So it's like,
well, that helps me to be able to say no quickly. So I don't.
Me too. That's an immediate ignore. But Brynne, what I always tell people is, if your company is telling you to do that, whatever, always put yourself in the shoes of the person that's receiving that message. If you were getting a message that looked like that, how would you respond to that? So before we start to wind down, so talk about the types of clients that you work with, and where are they right now in their business where you could step in, help them, and where can you take them to?
So right now, there's a little bit of a pivot in what we're doing. I used to fly around teaching classes, all over the country, Bermuda, like fun trips, but now everything is remote. And so, there's a pivot in what everyone is doing. And I think where we're bringing the most value is helping people that used to sell from trade shows. They used to sell from going to conferences, that went to chamber commerce meetings to meet their next clients. Commercial bankers, for example, or anyone in a B2B relationship that understands relationship selling and now needs to move it online and onto LinkedIn because of the situation we're in. So that's the best person for my program, someone that understands, that has built their whole business based on relationships, but is struggling now because of the lack of in-person opportunities to meet new people.
So how can people find out about more about the programs and you? Where should they go?
Socialsaleslink.com. See right there. Socialsaleslink.com. We have, great programs, lots of complimentary webinars and content to get started. And really it's about putting together a process, and you've had one in real life, right? It was, I'd go to a meeting, I'd meet 4 or 5 people, I'd have coffee with 2 of them, right? It's about converting that in real life networking to now LinkedIn is your networking event.
Love that. I always talk about it's a global networking event every single time you log on. That's really what it is. So for the listeners, all of Brynne's information will be available in the show notes, where you guys can go and check out everything that her and her company is doing. And Brynne, number 1, thank you so much for being here. Number 2, final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
The best way to explain what success means to me is when I get a client, just had one last month, that said, I closed a $1.5 million deal because I took your class and I followed your strategy. Thank you for helping me pay for my daughter's college, right? Like, that's success.
That's good.
Yeah, I as much as we do this for money, that's really what I do it for. That's what feeds me.
I always say that money is the side effect of the impact that we have on the clients that we work with. So I can completely resonate and understand that. It's a great feeling. So again, thank you so much for your time and your energy and everything that you brought to this episode. I know so many of my listeners and clients that are listening to this are going to take so much away from it. And I highly encourage all you guys to check Brynne out, not just on her website, but follow her on LinkedIn. Amazing content, amazing value. So thank you again for being here today.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So guys, as always, take a screenshot of wherever you're listening to this from, whatever social platform you want to post it on, tag us in it. And if you want, head over to iTunes, leave a rating and review about this episode, what your biggest takeaways were, aha moments, and what is going to move the needle forward for you. So guys, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you again so much for checking out this week's episode. And if you can, head over to iTunes, search for Network Marketing Made Simple, leave me a 5-star rating, basic review. I would be grateful for all of the support you guys can give me. And again, if you'd be interested in learning more how to utilize LinkedIn to grow your business, your brand, and your bank account, head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net. Fill out the form for your free 15-minute discovery call so I can learn more about you, your business, and how we can work together. And again, thank you guys so much. Grateful for you all, and I'll see you next time.